And so what does he do? He holds it in his throat. And this is where in Rishikesh, where we're from, there's this beautiful temple called Nilkand Mahadev Temple, that actually means blue throat. So Lord Shiva gives us the answer. When there is poison in the world, no problem, take it. Don't take it all the way in so you're miserable. Don't take it all the way in so it festers and breaks your heart and kills your inner world. But also don't spit it out on the world. Hold it and then meditate, as he came to the Himalayas to do. Moving on though, so he takes the poison. Then finally so much came out of the ocean. Maybe one evening we can speak about all of that which came out of the ocean. But ultimately the nectar came. But when the nectar came, the forces of good were terrified. Oh my God, the forces of evil are going to take this, and now they will become immortal and will be in even worse shape. So one of the forces of good, Jayant, the son of Indra, takes the nectar, this pot of the nectar of immortality, and he runs with it. And he runs throughout the universe. And as he runs throughout the universe, 4 drops of this nectar spill onto the earth. And they spill in 4 places. In Allahabad, Prayagraj, in Haridwar, in Nasik, and in Ujjain. And so those are the 4 places where we have the Kumbh Mela, that nectar of immortality that has fallen. And it's believed that when all the planets line up properly, when the energies of the universe are properly lined up in the most auspicious way, to have a bath in the sacred rivers gives you that immortality. But here's what's most important. The body, as I said in the Aarti, on the banks of our sacred rivers, the body is mortal. There's no bath in any water body. There's no prayer. There's no mantra. There's no blessing even that we can get to make the body not disintegrate. The body is matter. So when we talk about immortality and we have prayers and mantras where we pray to God, take us from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. We're not praying, oh God, give me a body that will never return to the elements. Give me a body that will never die. No, we're saying, oh God, let me identify, let me know the truth of who I am, which is immortal. Let me stop being identified with the body. Stop being identified with that which is constantly changing. My appearance, my bank account, my prestige, my place in society, my relationships. Let me stop identifying with that. That's the cause of suffering. Let me stop thinking that is me. That I am my titles, I am my body, I am my social status. Instead, oh God, let me remember that we are immortal. We are the children of immortality. And that is what the Kumbh is about. That's the immortality we get, is the connection with that within us, the self, the soul, the essence, consciousness, love, which is immortal. So when we come here, the bath we take is a bath in the true self. So as we're all here, Whether you're here as a Kalpavasi for all the entire Kumbh, or whether you're here for a night, whether you're here on one of the main Shahi Snan days, we are here today, or whether you're here any of the other days, when you take that bath, allow yourself to be a sponge, to really absorb not just the water. It's not about getting waterlogged. It's about really absorbing that divine presence, such that when you emerge from the bath, you know who you are. And that is the prayer of the Mela. With that, I am happy to open it up to any questions that anyone may have as we explain in Rishikesh. Satsang literally means in the presence of truth. And so it's a time for us to delve together into that eternal truth. Not the truth of today is January 15th. It's evening time. We're in Prayagraj. But the truth that is the thread that weaves through all of us, wherever we are, whatever day it is, whatever week it is, whatever place of the world we may be sitting in. That truth. And so I would be happy to answer any of the questions that anyone here may have of anything that is keeping us from living in that light and living in that truth.
Hello. Bhagawati ji, can you please explain, after the nectar comes out, you said the 4 drops came, but you know, when the nectar, Krishna comes to distribute the nectar, can you explain that bit?
I actually want to take that whole, if it's okay with you, I want to take that whole story of all of what comes out throughout that whole thing and do that as a whole separate time, if that's okay. But what's core and most important, especially when you're speaking about Lord Krishna's role in it, is he has given us, through his life, through his message, through the Bhagavad Gita, the nectar that's not just drops in rivers, that's not just drops that we actually bathe our bodies in, that requires the astronomy to be in the right place at the right time and lined up in the right way, but a nectar in which we can dive any day of the week, any week of the year, open it up to any of the 700 verses, any of the words in any of the 700 verses, And that has the power to connect you with that immortality. That's his message of the Gita. So we have this nectar of immortality given to us in actual form, falling onto the earth from the pot that emerged from the ocean, in which we can actually bathe our physical bodies to have that experience. And we have the nectar of the Bhagavad Gita, in which we can bathe 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, without a towel, without a boat, without needing any vivesta. And that nectar of immortality that he gave us is all about that connection with the truth of who you are, right? I mean, how many verses does he spend reminding us, you are not the body? They are not the bodies. You are not the body. You are not the taker of life. Life cannot be taken anyway. This is the message. When Arjuna says, forget it, I'm not going to fight this war. I'm not going to kill them. I'm not going to take their life. And hence, that nectar of immortality comes to us, which basically is, oh really? And since when have you been the giver of life, the taker of life? Since when have you been the one with the power to give and take life? Oh no. That's not you, Arjuna. That's me. And the life that is taken and given, that's not the truth of who you are. Who you are is never born. Who you are never dies. And what the Bhagavad Gita gives us in verse form is something else in which to bathe. And if through that nectar, through any of the words, any of the stanzas, you connect to that truth, your bath is done. And this is why he takes Arjuna through all of the different ways. Right? Here we have the Sangam. So many different ways of reaching the Sangam. So many different ghats, so many different ways the boats are coming from. Ultimately to have that bath. Same way in the Gita, Lord Krishna says, okay, let's go in through bhakti yoga. Let's go in through devotion. You want to reach that place through devotion? Let's do it. Love. Then let's go in through wisdom and understanding. That boat is great also. That God is great also. Let's go in through karma, through action. That's a great boat. Let's take that boat in. Because ultimately they're taking us to the same place. And ultimately when actually it's that fullness of that connection with God, not just the physical Sangam, but the actual Sangam, the cosmic Sangam. They're not even different ways into one place. Regardless of how you get in, you're getting all of them. With the true devotion comes the understanding, comes the wisdom, comes the action. You cannot love and not act. If you really love, the action follows. I really love you, but no, I won't bring you the glass of water you need. I really love you, but no. Hote nahi hai. Then you don't love. If you love, the action is action rooted in love. If there's no action, it's not love. And if you really love, the wisdom comes. And it goes in the other way as well. Begin with wisdom, with learning. The love comes. With the love comes the action. Begin with action. Through the service, wisdom blossoms. Love blossoms. So we get actually all of it all together. But this is ultimately why. Eventually, ultimately, he shows Arjuna, right, his cosmic form. For Arjuna and for us to understand, they go, it's not this or that, this then that. There is nothing but God. Nothing but God. It's not just one God, it's nothing but God. That Sangam is omnipresent. We just have to get in. And so that nectar of the Gita, through song, brings that music to our lives. It's interesting, you know, it's not the lecture of God. Actually, what Bhagwan Krishna gave was a talk, right? He stood in the chariot with Arjuna in the battlefield. Arjuna spoke, then Bhagwan Krishna spoke. It was a conversation, you could say. But it's not the conversation of God. It's not the speech of God. It's not the lecture of God. It's the song of God. Why? Because when we live it, our lives become music. When we live it, our lives become that song. So when we really delve into it, it brings us into that cosmic music, cosmic sound, such that the dance is always on. Pujya Swamiji always says, right, that Bhagwan Krishna reminds us whatever happens in life, how much he went through, how much he suffered. We suffer a little short back, something happens, we get fired from a job, someone is nasty to us, and we lose ourselves. And Bhagwan Krishna, what he went through from being born in the jail to how many times they tried to kill him, how much he went through. But as Pujya Swamiji always says, his song was always on. That song was on. Why? Because when you're connected, when you're living in that truth, there's music. The orchestra of the universe, the orchestra of the divine. Hence, the song of God. Such that when we really understand it, the music plays in our lives. And that's what happens. So that becomes the nectar then. Sure. We'll take this as our last question.
Hello. Here we all talk about spiritualism and supremacy of soul over mind and matter. I think there's no dispute about it, and we all agree. And the dispassionate nature of our work, which helps us everywhere. I'm coming back to the concept of drop of nectar at 4 places and the impact of astronomical forces on this. Now, if it has already happened, then once we come here, everything, the impact of it should be automatic, should be mechanical. There should not be any need of any satsang or anybody coming and teaching us. So there is a dichotomy, whether it has really happened or it's that we come here and we have this satsang which tells us how to take it. Like in the morning, Swamiji explained it so nicely. He explained the whole thing so nicely. It's not the dip into the river, it's a dip inside. Now, if it is dip inside, is it not the satsang? Is it not the closeness to the Guru and the clarity of thought which we get is the real impact of a Kumbh Mela like this? Else, otherwise, if it is not that, it will be mechanical and automatic.
Absolutely. So the automatic aspect that you referred to. The automaticness of it. As you said so beautifully, if the planets are all aligned and the astronomy of it is all set up, shouldn't it be automatic? So I'll take that first and then we'll come to the satsang part. Our bodies are not only matter, we're also mind. And this is the dilemma. The impact of the planets, the impact upon us is there. But what the dilemma becomes this role of the mind. So for example, take regular astrology, right? Now we know the impact of just the moon on Mother Earth. Why? Because it makes high tides and low tides. Anybody who doubts astrology simply has to look at high tide and low tide. One moon, that much water, changes 30 feet sometimes. Go to some place where there's a big beach and you see the difference between high tide and low tide just by the impact of the moon on the ocean. Now the human body is 80% water, 70% water. For us to think that just the moon has that much of an impact on the ocean that has so much water, right? This little glass of water, if I barely shake it, it'll start to spill over. Take a bucket, do the same amount of shaking, almost nothing will happen. Take a bathtub, do that much shaking, nothing will happen. So the more water, the less impact. Here, so much water, so much impact of the ocean. We are so much less water than the ocean. Clearly that impact is there. The problem becomes we don't recognize it. Doesn't mean it doesn't impact us. It absolutely does. But because our minds are so wrapped up in themselves, our minds are so wrapped up in the ignorance, so wrapped up in the ego, so wrapped up in who's saying what to whom, so wrapped up in my bank account, my job, my promotions, my success, that we lose the subtlety of touching how we are impacted by nature. We lose the subtlety of touching so much in our lives. We're losing because we are stuck in our minds that are constantly wanting more and more and judging and criticizing and condemning, yearning. So we miss the possibility of our own awakening. It's like the sun is always there. Pujya Swamiji says you're sitting in a room that's dark. We're praying for the sun. Sun is there, but our blinds are closed. It's not about bringing the sun, it's about getting those blinds open. The blinds are the mind that's closed. So that divine presence is there, that energy is there, that automaticness is there in a second. It's our minds that keep us from having that experience. And then lastly, isn't satsang really everything? And that's what we need, yes. What we need is to allow ourselves to have the touch. And whatever works for us to get open to it, meditation, silence, puja, a dip in the river, satsang, being in the presence of truth, absolutely, because that's what we get wet with then. That becomes the river in which we bathe. The river of truth, the river of that divinity. Doesn't have to be physical molecules of H2O. The river of truth, the river of grace. When we bathe in that, when we sit in that presence, we absorb it if we let ourselves. Because the exact same hindrance in the bath and the river is the same hindrance whether you're in satsang, whether you're meditating, whether you're praying. The hindrance is always the same, which is my own mind. And so here you are doubly blessed to have the opportunity to swim in the river of satsang, to take a dip in the depth of the truth of who you are. Yourself, your soul, your spirit, your essence, your infinite nature. And to also have the blessing to actually have a dip in the Sangam of the rivers, in that nectar there as well. You're doubly blessed. Drown in both of them. It's the mind that is trying to figure out, how can I stay afloat? It's the mind that thinks, I need to keep my control here. Drown in the river of truth. Drown in the river of your soul and yourself. That's a river that when you die, and only when you die, when the ego dies, when the mind dies, when the false identity dies, that's when you're able to actually be reborn in the truth of who you are.
As Pujya Sadhvi said, living in the truth. Satsang is living in the truth. Truth is always there, but how much we are living in the truth. It's very important. Before we sleep, if we cannot witness during the daytime, because we are very busy, our all activities should be full of that truth, but we forget. It's tendency of human beings. No problem. That's why this Kumbh is here, for Atma Manthan. Samudra Manthan happened once. And we remember that story, we share that story, we are living that story. But Atma Manthan, that was a Amrit Manthan. This is a Atma Manthan. Ocean is inside of us also. As there is a huge body of water, and here also 70 to 80% we are water. the manthan also is needed. That's why the Kumbh is there, because we forget. Kumbh reminds us the story of Amrit Manthan, the Sagar Manthan. Sagar Manthan is in our story, Sadhak Manthan. How Sadhak can have that Manthan inside of you. How we can churn everything in such a way, in a divine way, in a satsang way. Because satsang gives you the way. Even the manthan comes out, Amrit comes out. Before the Amrit, when Sadhvi ji started, she said, the poison came first. Even in life, we are living in the truth, being with the truth, but still, because being human, our lower tendencies sometimes take us back. So then this manthan should take place not once, but every minute, every moment. Even we forget that manthan, at least before we sleep. We must meditate. We must have Atma Manthan. And this Atma Manthan will become a Amrita Manthan. Because Kumbh is not, Kalash is not outside of us. This Kumbh, Kalash, our body is a Kumbh. Ye tan kacha Kumbh hai. Ye tan kacha Kumbh hai. Beautifully said. This very body is also very fragile Kalash, very fragile Kumbh. What kind of Amrit or wish you want to fill it in it, it's up to you. There one time happened, there always is taking the dip very deep down, you can bring. But here you don't have to go to the outer ocean. You have to go deep down, inner ocean. The Manas ocean, in Manas ocean, the Manthan, Manas Manthan is called Atma Manthan. उस आत्म मंथन में जब हम डुबकियां लगाते हैं, when we go deep down, here people have so much faith. One dip, one sip, done. Liberation. This was this, one sip, one dip, done. I was thinking, amazing, the people come from all over the country, coming from villages. धक्के खाते हैं, नहीं? It's not easy to come to the Kumbh, especially in the morning. Eh? Yes, that's why I'm bringing that. It's not easy. लेकिन उसके बाद भी यहाँ आने के बाद एक सिप, एक डिप और कुछ कुछ होने लगता है. बस ये कुछ कुछ होने लगे, यही इस कुंभ का सार है. What is that कुछ कुछ? That कुछ कुछ is that inner introspection starts. Inner manthan starts. And in that inner manthan, every night before you sleep, we have to see, I am being the kalash of poison or kalash of amrit. Even I am called the Amritasya Putra, you are the son and the daughters of Amrita. Your origination is Amrita, the nectar. But still, what my kalash is filling in every day, because of my karmas, because of my behavior, my thoughts, it's not only what I say, what I think. All is being stored. And that makes my life full of poison or full of amrit. If it's full of poison, then you come becoming bitter every day. If it's full of nectar, you are becoming better every day. It means you are improving on the path of. So sadhak. Sadhak must do every day this introspection. Where do I stand? This manthan must go on. If the manthan is on, inner manthan is on, be assured, one day the blessing is there, the grace is there. You can see that light. You will be touched and say, thank you, dhanyosmi, kritkrityosmi. When this happens, Kumbh happens. When this happens, that Sankranti happens. This is Super Sankranti. This is not a Makar Sankranti, because this is a land of Madhava. Allahabad, Prayagraj is the land of Madhav. Then Madhav Sankranti happens, means you and Madhav become one. ये हो गया तो कुंभ हो गया. ठीक है? Wonderful. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti
Have a beautiful dinner, beautiful rest of your evening, and we will be having satsang here in the evening, not in the satsang room, until further notice, as long as we have this wonderful blessing and opportunity to be here. It's so much more beautiful than to be in the room. So this is now our evening satsang spot, unless you hear differently. So we'll see you all back for satsang tomorrow, but of course we have the whole morning full of our regular camp activities, and then the arti in the evening. Tomorrow evening the arti will be not where we had it tonight, but it'll actually be on the big Arel Ghat, where we'll be having arti from now on, starting tomorrow with our Honorable Governor. So by 4:45, everyone should be there. It's basically just next to our camp. And if you have any questions, they can help you out in the reception area. Pujya Swamiji said to emphasize sharp 4:45, so let's say 4:30. And we will be there with the Honorable Governor for the inauguration of the Arti Ghat on the Arel Ghat. And our artis will continue from tomorrow from there.